Copy link. What's the best way to send it to you?
Just put it in your own chat.
I can't put it.
Text it.
All right, give me a second. Share messages to Dana.
Oh, Corey put it up already. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. He's fasting. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Talk to the people for 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. All right. So I guess we're back. I'm trying to I'm trying to find one chicken off. Oh, wait, hang on. All right. Well, since I can't get the stream up, we're just gonna look at all the little chickies. Say hello. Oh, look at you, you little what? Look how fluffy that little white butt is. Oh.
Okay, kiddos. So I'm gonna put on my preacher hat for a second.
Here we go.
Since YouTube didn't like me talking about Strong's Concordance, we're now going to talk about Strong's Concordance because I'm not backing down that easy. Rebuke whatever demon didn't like that, and we're going to go all Holy Spirit here. This is called Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible, and it's a very useful tool, which if you are a biblical scholar, I highly recommend you have. And what a concordance is it basically tells you in the Bible, let's say you're looking up a word. Let's just say the word is long suffering. So I'm on page 663 of the concordance. So what it tells me in this book, and I'll put it here so you can see, because there's ones that are easier to read, like this is long suffering here. You can see every place in the Bible that long suffering is mentioned is there. But some of you who are more or less familiar with Hebrew, and I believe this is true for Greek too, these are languages that are alphanumeric. Alphanumeric.
We couldn't see.
All right, so I'm speaking like Moses today. Alphanumeric, okay, and alphanumeric means that the words also have a numerical value. Hebrew is especially well known for that. That's why people think it's a true language, whereas English is kind of long-winded and dances about the point. But because of that, one of the things that you would find in a Strong's Concordance that a lot of people look at is you look at the number value. So if we look at the number value, and for my friend Free Green, we're going to look at the number value of 333, because what would the word that equals out to the numbers in Hebrew for 333 mean? Since he had 333 in his dream, 333 means maimed, literally. So in Hebrew.
Oh man, Free Green, you got it.
In Greek, because for those who don't know the history of the Bible, essentially, the Old Testament is in Hebrew and the New Testament is in what's called Koine Greek. So we look at both of them usually when we're looking at these sort of things. Yeah, Corey's doing a great job. And then 333 in the Greek is literally to look again or behold and consider. So behold and consider how maimed you are, which would be what 333 comes up as. And then sometimes there's other meanings you can look up, like maybe there'll be a verse 333 that has meaning. That's why Skull and Bones uses 322 and certain sacred numbers pop up. Like if you really want to get into it, some people get into the gematria and you can look at something like Joseph Aquaviva, or Dasani as Dana calls him for fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's neat because it gives you the opportunity.
Thank you, Corey, by the way.
It's kind of like a decoder ring.
A little bit.
All these people, they operate with numbers and code, and if you have the ability to crack that code, then you're not going to be surprised when whatever the elites decide to unleash on the world comes to pass, because they will have told you about it 1,000,001 times. Through commercials, TV shows, music videos, shooting, bang bangs.
Sure. Oh yeah, you can find words and you can find hidden meanings, and you start to realize there's a code at the heart of reality. I mean, some people even suggest reality is a holographic projection. I mean, think about it. How much you receive through your eyes, and your eyes are just reflectors of light that's happening around you. So, how this all works out. I mean, I don't think we understand the nature of reality at all, and I think the way to start understanding is to spend a lot of time working on the nature of what we are, and I don't think we work on that nearly enough. But I think that's something we desperately need to start doing. Oh, by the way, I should say, for people who are tuning in late, who are not understanding this is part 2 of a show. It cut out when I started talking about Strong's Concordance. We were talking about demons and how they're present among us. So rather than getting distracted, we decided to come back on here. I want to thank everyone who's here with us in Pineland here. I'm Tom Kaczynski. My wife Dana is here with me. Everyone who supports the program, P.O. Box 343, Eagle Lake, Maine, 04739, and the Venmo CVC PRV. And I keep showing off the little chicks so we can have a little bit of... for those who want to support. Prophecy of Demonic Sexual Attacks. There you go.
Yeah.
Strange Flesh.
If you guys want to check out this channel, this girl here, the
Master's
Master's Voice Prophecy blog. It's heavy and disturbing.
If you think reading Jeremiah is a good time, go listen to Celestial.
And don't let your kids, if they're young, I mean, you got to be a little bit more on the spiritually mature
Yeah,
side.
I mean, if you're
to listen to this
just
type of
thinking maybe
prophecy.
I want to get right with Christ, that probably isn't where you want to
I
start.
wouldn't go, right down the rabbit
If,
hole.
on the other hand, you've already accepted God as a reality in your life and you're trying to live and do kingdom work and you want to go ahead and say, hey, maybe I'll sign up to do a mission or two, maybe listening to the prophetic might be for you. It's not, and I'm not saying that's untrue. I'm saying that, you know, you wouldn't, feeding a baby milk, that's terrible. I know why they did that. They're rationing gas in some places. I was gonna say, you would feeding a baby milk is not a bad idea, but if you're ready for meat, for something that's a little bit harder, we can start looking at some of these things. And I'll be honest, there are days where I feel intimidated. There are days when the darkness feels like it's too much, and the voices that you imagine or hear, I guess it doesn't really matter, say that you can't fight back, you can't win. And yet, the minute you reset yourself, the minute you reset yourself in Christ, you can get back into that battle. But my goal is not to get into the spiritual psychology of those who are fighting for spiritual warfare. There's great books out there. There's a million books. We could talk about that maybe on a Sunday
but it's
chat.
something that's not addressed in the church, and it probably never will be unless it's
Well, the church
a church that does focus on
the
deliverance and stuff
church
like that.
became a religion and ossified the faith, I think, in many ways. And I say that, and look, I always say that about the Catholics, but to be honest with you, the most Protestant churches are just as corrupt. It's and there are good Catholics as well. I mean, who, we can get into the theology of it, but actually managing to live a life following Christ's example is a challenge for anyone, whatever denomination you aspire to. As long as you honor, the idea that salvation is through Christ. But what I want to present is not so much to go into that. That's more of a Sunday topic. But what I want to present to you is more this idea that, at least in my own reality, and people can make fun of me. I don't care. People do make fun of me. I really don't care about that either. Um, I am seeing the presence of this darkness in this world. And a lot of times people see people who appear to be crazy and be like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They're nuts. Sometimes you could see demons in plain sight. Sometimes, or like, I'll give you an example. And this has happened in our lives several times. There have been times where we were in desperate need. A person who we never knew came into our life, solved that need,
and then we never saw them again.
Never heard from them, never saw them.
I'll tell the story about the church. Our last day at our church in Greenville, it was heavy for us. Our pastor and a couple of the congregants took the jibby jabby Jello juice, and it was heartbreaking for us because they should have known better.
Yeah,
but the last day that we were there, there was such a heaviness inside that building. It didn't feel like church. There was nothing about it felt like church, and it was like a social gathering. And I was so angry at the end of that service. I said, this is our last day here, so I'm going to leave you guys with this. And I got up at the piano and I sang Shane and Shane's version of Psalm 46, which is the story of King Hezekiah that you preached on a couple weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
With the Bible. But I sang my heart out, and you could hear the grief, came out in my voice. And it's a very somber song, very powerful, minor key. And I was like, this church needs some Jesus. It doesn't need whatever this stuff is in here going on now. It's not, So that's what I did. And two people there that we had never seen at our church before, on our way out the door, handed my husband something. And it was green. So you said you didn't want to look down.
I didn't look. No, I just said thank you. It was very kind because they knew we were moving.
I said thank you. And then when you got in the car, like you said, you handed it to me, and I opened it up, and it was a brand new $100 bill. And I was like, what? Are you really? I was shocked, but just, I don't know, maybe me going in there and being obedient and going out playing that song and trying to,
And
like,
it's not about the money, really. It's about, because there have
no.
been times where, it was help with a furnace, it was help with getting
Yeah.
in this house, it was,
We've been supernaturally provided for.
and we couldn't do this without that level of provision. But you find that those things happen. So in the same way that there are those interactions with the good things, whether they're the angels who step in and out of your life that are looking out for you, especially as you're doing the Lord's work, there are also demons that step in to tempt you. No, no, don't beat the screen, little one. All right. Can you take the little ones? And
I
I don't
want to
want to.
see you.
I know, but I don't want them to hear make mess. Okay. So what I was saying is that in the same sort of way is that I think it's not unreasonable to think that some of the things that lead us into our degradation are demons that are there for our temptation. And we use those terms metaphorically, but I think in reality those temptations are real and they come before us and we have to learn to spot them and have the discernment to stand against them. And when we see that there are demons acting upon others, we always, kind of look the other way. But I try not to these days. If I see something and I can call it out, and I'm not attacking people, I'm not against people, but the act. And when someone claims to be something, and this is the darkest part of it. I see increasingly it happens where people claim to be, I am this, I am that, and people say, oh well, that can't be true. You're just delusional. Are they? I mean, in some cases, I'm sure they are, but I'm not sure they always are.
Like Sister Carrie Ann was talking about being on the street, and she walked past a man, and she could see in the spirit that it was not a man. And it spoke to her. It said, I've only been here or I just got here. And she said, yes, I know who you are. And it was, they're not hiding anymore.
I mean, someone asked me about CERN the other day. There's a thought what they were trying to do was open a dimension to the nether realm. I mean, you've seen the Chronicles of Riddick type movies like that, the Netherverse. They're tearing holes in reality, and as they tear holes in reality, we assume there's nothing there, like the opposite of matter is antimatter, and they explode. But what if you create a portal between them? And this is what they were literally trying to do. They're pretty clear about it. I mean, why do you think they have? Hey, stop that! You are being such a brat. I want to protect the little ones. I'm not going to let her. Huh?
Pecking order. It's fine.
Dana's always defending the kind of mean hens. I don't, but that's.
It wasn't. It wasn't a mean. It was just like I'm older than you. I'm wiser than you. I'm a bigger chicken than you. Like, learn your place. It wasn't a harmful. It was just a boink. Older hens do that to young chicks when they're not their own.
I don't know. Well, that's what she tells me.
It's true.
I don't know. I don't understand women's society in this world or in Henryland, so I don't know about that. But yeah, thank you, by the way, to Corey for posting some of those books. I will tell you one other thing, too, totally unrelated to what we're talking about today. I have figured out what my next book is going to be, I think, and I'm not going to tell you until I put it together. I think 2 or 3 of you know what it is. Don't tell if you do, but I am going to try to take a shot at fiction to answer some questions. And I still want to do the Atlantis stuff. I love the Atlantis stuff. But honestly, you don't want to hear about the Atlantis stuff. I know from what you buy that you want to hear about what's going to be happening in the near future or what was happening in the recent past. So we're going to set something very local and very close to what happened. And I'm going to tell a story of how this world could have been a little bit different. So we'll put it to you that way, give you a little teaser. But at some point here, in maybe a month, once I get things organized and once I get the plot all figured out in my head, I'll probably sit down, bang out a book. So look for something later this summer, maybe early fall. I don't want to give you an exact date because, frankly, I just don't know, where I'm hoping to put another book in front of you. But this will be a fiction that will be very, very interesting. Let's see. Skinwalker Ranch portals seen on ultraviolet into the gamma spectrum. That's interesting, and I watched that show they did on there. That place, there is a portal up above that place
with
there.
supernatural activity. Along ley lines and everywhere where you see the pyramids. All these monuments and stuff, they are like on magnetic ley lines. I mean, that's not an accident.
She's absolutely right. So Corey writes, I need to do a digital bookstore tour. You know what I might do, and maybe I'll post it and pin it. In maybe in a week, is I'll revisit my own works. I'll do an episode, and I won't have you guys talking during it because that'll work better that way. I'll just record myself talking into the camera, and I'll introduce my library so that those people who are new to my work or who picked it up somewhere else might find a way to understand what I was trying to accomplish by some of this work. So.
He just wanted to bite you so bad.
I know they do, and I'm really trying to prevent them from
It's
making
alright.
their.
Little chicken poo. Oh.
I know. Well, here, if you gotta do it here. See, this is what it's like. Like even the cute little things are just like all on top of me. I mean, you can't see it, but they're just climbing up my leg, and they're. Oh, all right, fine. If you all want to be close to me, you all want to be on camera. Here, we'll put my arm here. We'll all watch here. Just stay on me, okay? That's all I'm asking. If you do that, otherwise I'll put you in the box. So that's fine. The birds all want to hang out. They're really precious at this age. Actually, it's a
And
cute
they
little
grow up
monster.
so fast.
No, I know, and they grow up so weird too because they get big and then they get fat. It's kind of like blowing up a balloon, but it's like they blow up straight. You'll see it, and they'll widen out. But what was I gonna say? So other than that, yeah, I mentioned CERN. I mean, I've been following the news. I haven't seen anything I really need to talk about. I mean, the thing about Texas, shooting there, it's weird that the cops didn't go in for an hour. Of course, law enforcement has no obligation to protect you. That's been argued in court many times. And it's interesting, the people who actually went in there were Border Patrol guys who got sick of the cops basically withholding the parents. And from what I read, a number of the kids who bled out on the way would have been saved if the cops would have done their job properly.
Yeah, that
Which
one mom.
is tragic.
That one mom that they had handcuffed. When they uncuffed her, she snuck around the back of the building and got in, and she got her own kids out. And there's reports that
Nuggetendian
a
strip.
lot of the police that were there did go get their children,
Yeah.
but they didn't bother to save any of the other kids. So
Yeah, it was terrible.
I mean, that was
If someone
terrible.
spends $60, as much as I hate it, you could name them sweet and sour ranch and honey mustard, but it's
We
terrible.
need a Szechuan.
You know what? If I had the Buff Orpingtons, if you were going to name chickens after chicken nuggets, you wouldn't name these guys, but Buff Orpingtons look like a chicken nugget color.
Because they've got
that peach kind of
really pretty deep goldenrod yellow and
the
brown
oil.
gold. They're beautiful.
It's that time when a man will choose his own over his job. Well, you got to do that. I mean, your job's not going to be worth much it could be worth much anyway soon enough. So, what was I talking about before that? I was talking about before I got distracted by the chicken.
All I remember you talking about was CERN and portals, and we were talking about
I was talking
Skinwalker
about UV. I was
Ranch.
talking about the spectrum. Yeah. What was I don't remember what the hell I was talking about. I just shows you how my
You know what? I would say
pre
a lot of people now, since they turned on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A B C D E F G, and they turned.
Doesn't it annoy you to do that, like hiding things?
Whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. And with HAARP and all that, a lot of people who have or haven't gotten the jibby jabby juice are experiencing really crippling headaches, fatigue, symptoms that are kind of similar to radiation sickness, painful tinnitus, ringing in the ears, pressure in the head, sinus pressure, pressure in the eyes and the jaw, heart palpitations, chest pain, anxiety, shortness of breath. And I know this happens to us when we go from where we are and the towers start popping up. My heart rate goes up. My anxiety goes up. Like we feel like we're being burned. Have any of you guys, has anyone else reported anything like that to you? Because I know that it's a thing now that everything's kind of up and running, and CERN's back up and running. So all these things together.
I think we're allergic to
are really
civilization.
acting
I
on.
mean, we have such a horrible
But
response
it's
to it.
not
I have to go
just it's
down.
not just us either.
No, it's
It's
not
it's
just us.
regular.
I know it's
Like
not
people
just
that
us.
live around these things 24/7, they're not doing too good. They're starting to
Well,
develop some really like
yeah, and you know
crippling health problems.
well, and that's kind of the point, right? Like even when they don't take you out, they take out your capacity to offer some
Well, they
sort of
debilitate
resistance,
you.
and that's what we're really trying to overcome, that debilitation. And that's why we have to go out and we have to. It's not enough to not be sick. You have to seek health. It's an active process, and that's what we try to do. Although sometimes we're better at it than others. But um, what was I saying? Oh no, I know what we were talking. We were talking about El Paso, and we were talking about, or Uvalde, or where the heck
Yeah,
this
Uvalde.
we were talking about the shooting, and people ask, is it a false flag? Is it? I don't really want to get into that, other than to say that I think it's interesting that these terrible acts happen and people are past them very quickly. And I think we've all been inured to so much violence that it just doesn't phase us maybe the way it should. And we've accepted this is the price of the world we live in. But and like I said at the very beginning of the show, or the previous entity, um, there's certain sorts of violence maybe you should have to learn to live with. Your kid's getting slaughtered isn't one you should. And this kid, he obviously had a lot of problems. I saw him dressed up in drag, which, someone should talk about that as a problem. Or just like with the monkeypox thing, maybe we should talk about who's spreading it as a problem. But we're not allowed to speak truth. So what happens is we settle for comfortable lies, or we try to do workarounds. And I think we need to be able to speak truth. And I know even here we don't, because the algorithm would torch me. That's why Dana has all these cute little metaphors to describe things that
We don't talk
would be.
about Bruno, yeah.
We don't talk about truth. No, no, no. The algorithm goes forth and says, if you say this, we'll cancel you. So we don't talk about WHO. No, we don't talk about Tedros. Eritrea's communist. Fauci's got you on a list. But we don't talk about this. No, no, no. And I haven't even had any substances. This is just me straight up. The hooch mature. You'd wonder, right? I mean, I don't know. If we did, what we actually talked about, maybe we'll see. Dana's pretty shy when it comes down to it. That's why she sits here. She likes to know what's going on, but she hates being on camera. If I can get her to wave to you, I'm doing pretty good. But maybe we'll do a little song thing, because we actually talked about doing some things about farm life, like for instance, the "Let's Get Down to Business" song we said from Mulan.
Oh yeah,
I had one from.
you had one for the hens.
I know.
To defend the
hens.
hens.
Will you be bad roosters or be proper gentlemen? And then at the end of it was, I'll make a meal out of you. So I mean, and you know what? You put smart people in a difficult environment, and we do make a lot of songs. We do have a lot of fun. It's pretty wholesome. It's a little dirty sometimes, but not too bad. But you gotta laugh or you're gonna cry, and you're gonna cry sometimes anyway. So if we do certain things and we can use our wits to, like for instance, me, I can't remember and quote things verbatim, and I've had a problem lately. I'll be honest, and maybe you spotted in my shows a little bit. I'm having a really hard time remembering names of people I know. I'm having a hard time remembering names of things I did. Like I can remember things with our trauma bonds, and I remember people I constantly interact with, but I just am having a hard time with it. And I can still do the analytical part pretty good, but I'm just struggling with that part. And it's just one of those things that's really been frankly upsetting to me. And I wonder if it's a post COVID thing too, because we had a really hard ride with it,
We're still having a hard ride.
And I'll say
with
it point blank. I think the reason we had it so hard is because someone who's in our proximity is
Mhm.
related to someone who went ahead and got jabbed, and all of us got sick, and that person didn't. And you would say, "Oh, well, that's why they didn't get sick."
Yeah, and
No, there was something that happened.
and our doctor is a Lyme literate naturopath. I'm not going to give her name. I'm not going to give her location and give her away. But when we were going through the treatment and the process of all of this, she's like, "It sounds like you guys got the like original COVID, like no variant, not
That's
Delta,
terrible.
not Omicron." And so I sent my neighbor a text. I'm like, "Hey, heard you got the jibby jabby juice. When was it?" And I got the date, and there were interactions within like 2 weeks of that time period, and that's when we got sick, and we got classic COVID, and there's no quote unquote protection for any of the other variants with the jibby jabby juice. So what's in there is the OG COVID. That's what we got.
And we fought through it, and now we have natural immunity.
And this is
And
one
we
of the
have,
reasons why I was like, okay, with Eddie going to the great beyond, because I don't have the stamina, the strength, or the energy to chase him around and kick his butt. Now that we've
well,
had
I
the
mean, and
COVID.
it's and like I said, I don't want to get into it, but it's like it shows you the vulnerability of even having casual contact with people. And I mean, we got through it okay. I mean, I guess. I mean, I still, if I laugh deeply, I cough. And
Yeah.
I've had an examination of my lungs since then. And apparently, they sound fine to listen to on a stethoscope, which I guess is good. But I mean, I don't. I
I'd
know
be
I'm not the same.
curious. I'd be curious to see an X-ray.
Of course
And
you
I
would.
know I've been having
You guys.
some really severe chest pain, and the doctor wanted me to go have an X-ray done of my heart and my chest, and have some really interesting blood work done. But after I fell in the garden, I was been
Yeah, the
confined.
wife's been.
I've been confined to the bed and haven't been able to do anything. And the last thing I want to do is take a ride up to the hospital and get poked and prodded and X-rayed when I feel like I broke my back. So,
Yeah,
so
no,
it's gonna take a
it's
minute for me to even get parts of me checked out. But I'm afraid of PEs and throwing a clot. I mean, I've had chest pain before. I've had that like fake heart attack chest pain, but this is worse. This feels like someone is taking a railroad spike and hammering it through your chest. I mean, it takes your breath away, and Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, but it's
It's
just one more in a
brutal.
series of engineered diseases we're dealing with, and we'll have to fight through it. And that's why eventually, the survival strategy is going to have to be. I genuinely believe. I mean, I don't know, but my own thinking has been that, and I think Dana shares this, is eventually we'd love to get to the point where our interactions with people are limited to a closed community of people who have not done certain things, who've committed to certain other things, who share certain common beliefs, and who do not want to be connected. That's basically what Pineland, and I think, just the problem is we're all waiting until it gets bad enough where we have to do it, and therefore very few of us will be able to do it. Now, there's a couple exceptions, and you know who you are, but for a lot of
It
other
was
people.
the original Coca-Cola. Free green, you're right. That's funny.
So
It was
those
the
are
OG.
those are the things that we have been thinking about, we've been dealing with. And since I mentioned the gun thing, it was encouraging to see that a lot of the sovereignty elements of that World Health Organization pandemic treaty was scrapped,
Oh, really?
because the pushback was so hard against it.
It was some
But I'm
respect.
sure they'll go at it another way, another time. I mean, that's the thing, they slowly but surely get at you, and we'll see. We'll keep an eye on things, and I will get back to reporting on problems. In the meantime, some channels to check out. I think Popular Preparedness does a really good job getting into some of the details here.
Southern Prepper
Southern Prepper
One.
One does a really good job sharing some of that information. I think he's good if you're in that sphere. I really like the Duran, the work that they do, the two Alexanders. If you're looking for geopolitical analysis, I think they do a sharp job. I'm very fond
Monkey
of them.
Works is good.
If you want to
It's
know about where things are moving
Monkey
around, okay,
WERX.
Mr. Thessalonian, I've heard of him as well. Good to
Marfu-
see you, Timmy.
Marfugal TV.
Yeah,
Canadian Prepper.
Marf's okay, but sometimes, you know what? When you listen
Marf
to
is gentle.
Mar,
He's very
yeah, Marf
gentle.
is too nice.
Marf is very gentle.
Marv, don't listen to the call-in shows. I'm just gonna tell you, it's a waste of your time. If there's anyone who says anything good, they'll make it a separate clip a day later.
Yeah,
I mean, unless you just want to get a comfy sleep in.
Don't Speak News is another one.
Yeah.
Dave Hodges used to be
No, I
good.
don't want to talk about Dave.
Bear Independent is really good.
He's more like a prepper one. Dana has a lot of prepping ones. I don't listen to a lot of prepping channels
Oh no,
because I
but
find it
like
depressing.
his
Like you like
commentary.
that Appalachian chick. She
I
has a
like
lot of
that
good stories.
one. Yeah.
So I mean, there's people who like that. But
Appalachian Homesteading.
But a lot of these move at a much. The one thing I've noticed, and it's come up sometimes, is a lot of these move a lot slower than my audience kind of likes. So some of the prepping ones, you'll have to find the right personality. The information's good, but sometimes the presentation, depending on how you are, some will resonate, some won't resonate with you. what Stephen Banoon's reporting as of 8 minutes ago.
Do we
There was an
play it?
assassination attempt. No, not while we're on air.
We
But he's saying
can.
there's no, because I hate doing that. Let people go check out Israeli News Live reporting there was an assassination attempt on Putin. There probably was several actually. I've heard about 3 or 4 of them. They've been trying to get him for a while, which is really not so great. If they got Putin, I believe the hardliners would take over there. But we'll see what happens. Um, in the meantime, I think that covers what we need to cover for today. I've certainly talked enough. I'm scheduled to do a sermon tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be here just because we have a friend of the program who's coming up. But I probably will come on to do something. I haven't felt called to talk about anything specifically yet. I'm trying to figure out what I want to talk about. Let's see. Promise you will watch one of Mr. Teslonian's videos and it will inspire you. Well, I'll check it out. I have the opportunity. I've been having to do a little bit of driving, so I'll put it on in this week. I'll check it out. So, absolutely. If you have one you specifically, if they're not sequential, if they're sequential or if they're events based, that's good. If not, you have my Telegram, so just send me one. If there's one you'd really recommend as an opening, that's helpful. And just keep in mind that I listen to things at 2x speed because otherwise I'd never get anything done. I just have to. It's actually disgusting how fast I listen to things, and what it's caused is me to talk a lot faster, which probably isn't helpful for you. I know the wife says to me, "Don't talk to me this quickly."
I'm like, can you come down to like 1x speed instead of like 2x?
I like talking like the Micro Machines guy. You remember that guy?
The car was
You remember Micro
annoying.
Machines? Oh, he was great, Mr. Scatman. If you like listening to things really fast and you're autistic, check out Scatman John. It was just classic music. I'm the Scatman. Anyway.
Oh my god.
I know, terrible, right? All right. In the meantime, keep safe. Pick the right fights. Other than that, go in the Lord. Definitely want you to go here. If it doesn't say Micro Machines, it's not the real thing. You guys remember that? I loved Micro Machines, man. They were friggin' awesome.
Yeah, they were real great when you accidentally stepped on one too. Just like Legos.
Well, it's not my fault you weren't being attentive to what's around you. Just get the chip, Tom. It will save time. Yeah, I know that's what they're going to say to me, right? Yeah, no, I have no interest in being chipped. I am looking forward to go for at 20x speed. Well, you know what? I tell you, before I go, one thing you guys would not agree with me, I don't think, but I actually think that if we ever restructure society, we should get rid of video. And I know that's a heavy ask, but I tell you, your eyes make your mind dumb. If you have to listen to materials and you have to read materials, abstract thought happens so much better.
Hey, you're forgetting some of us in the room that have a hard time reading because they have brain damage.
No, you would be fine because what would happen is people would read aloud. We'd bring back a literate culture of storytelling. It would come back. You would hear stories and you'd have time to think on them and it'd be inflection. Like, I'll give you an example. The sermon I did last week where I read Isaiah 44, how much did the inflection add to that story?
Well, that's different. I love dramatized Bible.
Even the bird agrees.
And I even like watching like animated like kids Bible stories are a lot of fun. But not everybody has the luxury of being able to.
I understand that, but you know what?
Read.
But the argument that Elon Musk makes for Neuralink is we're going to help people walk again, where instead they're going to they're going to help everyone walk by turning us into robots.
I'm going to be probably one of those, main target audiences for having a brain chip, and I'm not going to do it.
And they always use that we're going to help the cripple thing as an excuse to take over the people who are normal. That's what they always do. So my point isn't that the people who don't have disabilities don't need help, but what I'm saying is the temptation for technology to prevent us from our vulnerabilities is a dangerous one. I think the birds got me. They painted me way more deeply than I expected. So I think
you'll survive.
In my near future.
There's one right there.
Oh man,
You'll live.
This things I have to live with. So, by the way, the unboxing of the washing machine should hopefully happen this week. We are finally ready to do it. Dana's recovery had to take precedence of that. Video killed the radio star. It absolutely did. I mean, video killed. If not for video, Nixon would have been Kennedy, and that's kind of my point. That we are having to see that. I'm just arguing that I think that we would be better. So this guy is our Californian friend, good old Ecky's here. Video kid, the radio star. Internet killed the video star. EMP attacks kiddo, and radios killed books. And the thing is, what books conjured up was imagination, and our imagination needs to return instead of our. We've substituted fetishism for imagination. We've substituted the existential acting of running around as furries for the imagination of being in worlds that are more creative. We've made ourselves less and put on happy little things and said, "Aren't we proud because I'm weird?" rather than actually imagining new worlds. That's why when you read like books, like how would you compare like a C.S. Lewis or a J.R.R. Tolkien to like, let's say, what's her name, Rowling or Harper, the one who did the Hunger Games. I mean, look, and I enjoy the Hunger Games, and I enjoy,
It's Collins, right?
Collins.
Suzanne
Yeah,
Collins.
Collins. I'm sorry, Collins. Oh, I said Harper. Um, but we've degraded. I mean, and the funny thing is, it's like Orwell. Orwell was promising newspeak. That we have dictionaries. One day we're just going to convey everything through emojis. That's what's going to happen. I swear to God, they're going to have whole books written in emojis. In fact, if I wanted to be rich, if I wanted to write the new age equivalent of, what's that stupid book, the white privilege one, that I would just write a whole book in emojis. Could you imagine? And some idiot would be like, "This was the greatest book I ever read. It's a great thing into the future." In fact, you know what? Go make $1,000,000. Give me 10%. I deserve a little bit. Consider it a tithe to the church. Go write a 100-page book in emojis. Put it on Amazon and say this is the new way of speaking, where it conveys feeling, where there are thousands of images that are universal and accessible to everyone. And I guarantee you would sell a whole bunch of books, and a whole bunch of people would buy it, just like who bought those NFTs, and they think this is the most brilliant thing ever. And then use it for kindling for your wood stove. But that's what I would recommend to do. I think that would work. Do you think that would sell? I bet you it would sell. It'd be impossible to read.
I
Here would be the title: Wink emoji. Or you could put 2 colons on the front of it. Isn't that how you put the little the syntax of it? Anyway, so the code, the point of this, I was trying to leave the channel, but my point of it that the wife and I have had a conversation about was that I was saying that I think that video as a format is not great. And it's one of the reasons why I don't put a lot of effort into my video development, other than I let you see little things I want you to see, because I could produce like a couple really really good videos, but I don't want you to be focusing on me. I mean, it's bad enough how many of you pay attention to my beard. Like, really, it is. I mean, yeah, it does look better, but who cares? It's the quality of the thoughts. My beard aesthetically has no impact on any of your lives whatsoever, but the thoughts might, and that's where you want people to focus. But we get distracted by our eyes. It's the same reason we listen to people who, we shouldn't. Maybe there are people we should listen to, but we don't because they're ugly, and there are people who are completely clueless who we pay lip service to because they're attractive. And our whole society, I mean, even actually, a story on that. One of the things that's been happening is they've started making recruiting agencies for congressional candidates that have been groomed. Like, take Cortez as an example of one of these people who supposedly sit up that way, or that Finnish prime minister. They find either attractive-looking women or attractive-looking men. I'm not saying I think that, but that's judged by that way, because you're more likely to listen. Because who wants to hear Gerald Nadler speak on anything? If you've ever seen him, you know what I'm talking about. He literally looks like he's like the cousin of Baron Harkonnen, the original one. Actually, I think he represents the district over from where she is. He represents the Democrats in the Bronx.
No, yeah, that's how they put ads out, and her friends were like, "You should answer this ad to run for Congress." She's like, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean, apparently she should be a bartender, But hey, I mean, look at that. Look at our vice president. She was the go-to girl for Slick Willie Brown. This is what happens, and it's not just Democrats. It happens with Republicans as well.
Slick Willie Brown,
Yeah, that was the mayor of San Francisco, and she worked her way from the ground up. If you get what I'm saying, that's how. And this, that's the biggest reason the 25th Amendment can't get used, because what are you gonna do? You have one choice. I mean, you have 2 terrible choices. I mean, and then beyond her, you have the Lushin Pelosi. You have the, I don't want to call him a turtle. I mean, the turncoat, really. With his Chinese wife and McConnell. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll have a coup. A lot of people in the foreign press think we're going to have a coup soon here in America, and why not? I mean, we're in a third world country. I mean, we sound saying this can't happen in America. Why not? We had a fixed election. It's time to have a coup. That happens in third world countries. We have to accept that. That's what we live in now.
A lot of people in the prophetic are talking about that happening.
Nadler once wore a gold Casio A159. I was pleased to see it out in the wild and mildly bummed out.
I think you just broke my husband.
I wouldn't notice that. I mean, I guess staring at a dude's wrist. I mean, people are probably thinking, like, why won't this man make eye contact with me? Be like, it's time. It's time. It's Vader time. No. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. Jane is right. And on that bombshell, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, I think yeah, and Corey noticed that was Eki. That's Eki, man. He noticed that. The time is ticking, man. If Inception isn't your favorite movie of all time, I would be mildly disappointed just because it's all about time, right? And about dilution. If you haven't seen that, by the way, you absolutely should. It's a very entertaining movie, worth checking out.
It's
Back for what's her
fascinating.
name? That wasn't that the chick who became a dude, Ellie. What's her name?
Ellen Page,
Ellen Page. That's right.
who
Something
is
went
now
crazy.
Elliot Page.
Yeah, no, that's you don't hear too much about the trainees going that direction, but
You
whatever.
know, speaking of that, I see more I regret transitioning stories than anything these days. All these people that are now in their late teens or their early 20s that have gone through this process are like, I wish someone would have just let me go through my tomboy phase or my tomgirl phase without trying to change my gender.
Yeah.
Or if someone's like,
Well, Bill Maher got in a lot of trouble. He was talking about that. He was showing the percentage of people who identify for trans, like by generation, and by his logic, by 2300 will all be trans. So he was saying it was trendy, and everyone got pissed off at
well,
him.
Tucker interviewed this girl. She didn't go like full transition, but she started to, and she said like in order to like fit in, like it wasn't cool to just be straight cisgender. Like you had to be something, a little bit out there. And if there was something about yourself that you didn't like the tone of your voice or like how you looked, it's like, oh well, then you're trans. It's not like, oh, you'll grow into it or like,
Yeah,
you
it's not allowed
know.
to be a mood. It's your permanent identity now,
Yeah,
and you have to
it's
chop your.
yes. And this person felt so pressured, not just by her
True.
peers, but by the people she went to for help, just for like, and he's, I mean, like every kid has problems with the way they look and dysphoria with their body, and like every teenager does. But I mean, the answer to that is to not
I
just go
didn't.
the opposite. Well, you're like Belle from Beauty and the Beast when you were a teenager. Your head was stuck in a book.
No, I was stuck playing Civ 2, actually.
But listening to her story and how she was treated, like no one ever told her it's like it's okay to not be okay with certain parts of your body or the way you sound or whatever. But that doesn't. But instead of saying that, they're like, well, that means you're trans. That ain't
And I gotta
it.
tell you what, we need to purge the mental health. Anyone in the mental health profession who went along with this, they need to be take. I'm not going to say purge. I don't mean kill them. I mean, they just need to never have their license again. Because if you're that weak-willed, you shouldn't be giving advice to anyone. So Eki is not a Nolan fan. Wasn't Nolan's first big hit Memento? I liked Memento. I remember that back in the day, but he did not care for Inception, or he
Are you
probably won't like
talking?
Interstellar then either.
Are you talking about the following that was on Fox with Kevin Bacon, like that serial killer one, or is that something different?
Who's the music guy you love? Zimmer,
I
right?
love Hans
You
Zimmer.
love Hans Zimmer. She
I
used to
love
listen to
Hans
he did the
Zimmer.
Dune soundtrack.
He
Yeah,
did Dune.
she
He did
used to listen. She went through a phase where like for 3 weeks all she did was listen to Zimmer's soundtrack
no,
over
that
and over
was
again.
months, not just
I stand corrected. It blurred.
yeah, Interstellar was my thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's just okay. No, I haven't. Okay.
All right. Well, now that we've gone through everything, oh, you know what? The last thing I should mention was you had me watch. This might be interesting to you. Probably some of you saw it, but I hadn't seen it before. What was the Muse? The name of that album?
Um,
Simulation Theory. Is that it?
let me look it up.
So we were listening to Muse, and she had me listen to. I keep calling it algorithm, but that's not right.
That's one
Simulation
of the
Theory is one
songs
of the
that's on
songs.
it.
They do theme albums, and some of you know Muse, but I'm interested by the fact that Muse manages to stay pretty relevant, and whether you like the music or don't like the
It's
music, it's
this.
interesting. All right.
This is the one that we're talking about.
Simulation Theory. The videos
Each
are interesting.
each one of their
Very curious.
albums is a concept album dealing with one particular subject, which I didn't know about, but I always wondered about. But this one is
AI.
about AI and breaking out of the matrix, and the visuals are kind of pretty cool.
Very retro wave
And
type
if you
80s,
watch, if you go and
80s
watch the
before.
playlist, from there's 1, 2, 3,
What's wrong with
4,
Depeche? I
5,
love Depeche Mode. That's fine.
6,
The guy
7,
died from
8,
that
9,
actually.
10, 11. There's 11
Policy of Truth.
songs, 11 songs on the album, but if you watch them in order, all of the videos tell a story, and it's just kind of neat trying to watch people breaking out of a simulation. It's cool.
Fun fact, since you mentioned Depeche Mode, this guy, if you want to ever have fun with it, the second book I wrote, my sci-fi book that all 10 of you have read, one of you read, literally the song I listened to most while writing Color of My Blood was Policy of Truth. So, Depeche Mode represent. I'm there. No, look, it's fine. I like some things that are not cool. I don't care. And I
I
know
like some
music.
Depeche Mode. I like some Duran Duran.
You do like Duran
I
Duran.
like me some.
I'm
I
not as
like
crazy. Yeah, yo, what's that song you played to death?
Come Undone.
Come Undone. She played that one like a billion times. Dana gets a song where she likes to hear. She doesn't get tired of things, like I do or other people do. So she'll play something like if it fits her feelings, you'll play a song like every day for 6 months.
If I'm in an INFJ like feeling loop, like I'll latch onto a song. Usually it's like a response to trauma. That's what that was. So you can't hold me to that forever.
Yeah, no, they're trying to make you forget Ukraine. That's absolutely true. But I thought it was interesting because I think things about AI are interesting, and I know some of you like visuals, so I shared that because not because look, I don't know the edgiest, coolest, independent things. I sit and I read books about Puritan history for fun about how to build a society that works. This is what I like. I mean, literally, I'd start screaming Cotton Mather at you all. I mean, I don't know if you'd appreciate it. It wouldn't work anyway, but in any case, go enjoy the rest of your weekend if it's and go get prepared a little bit, get a plan for things you want to do ahead. We will be back, maybe a sermon on Sunday. Don't expect to see us on Monday unless my friend, well, I mean, I don't think it's a secret. We'll leave it up to him. If I do a show, there's a small chance we may do a Sunday evening show if my friend wants to come on, who is a member of this audience, but we
I
didn't
can
talk
give him
about
a
it.
disguise.
No, well, no, he doesn't.
If he,
We could just do like we did with our good friend Scott Howard. We will just put him off camera, or if he wants to come on camera, I'll leave it up to him. If anyone shows up and they want to be on the show, I absolutely Let's see. Favorite songs is a question I ask all dates. If they don't have one, they can't decide on one in a paradox of choice and will never pick one man. Well, I don't think Dana could pick one,
no, there's
but
no
I'm like
way.
Whitman. I'm multitude. So,
Because like okay, music for me
oh, here
is
we go.
shut up.
I'll be back in a minute. This is gonna
No.
take a while. Put my book back.
Okay, well, you're just leaving me hanging. When I got really like neurological from the Lyme disease, some interesting things started happening to my brain, and as a result of using certain things to treat the brain damage, I've developed the ability to see colors, and I can feel the vibrations of certain colors.
Mention the experiment with
Tom,
sound
yeah,
and
Tom
color.
had a book on harmonics, frequencies, and colors, and he's like, "I want to try something with you." So he took the book and he walked over to the piano and he played a note, and he said, "What color is this note?" And I said, "That's yellow." And he would play another one and be like, "That's red." And every single note he played, I was spot on, dead accurate with the colors. Boom. My brain works in really interesting ways. So I love lots of different types of music. I will go from like hardcore German industrial
You're
music.
explaining past what has to be explained. It turns out that there is a recurring cycle of frequencies that you can look at of the wavelengths, and when you look at the compression, certain colors equate to certain sounds, equate to certain, if you break it down far enough, to certain brain waves. So there actually is a relationship between color and sound,
Yeah.
where we perceive these in like you say, music different octaves, but you're going by orders of magnitude greater than an octave.
So it's called synesthesia, and it's cool. It's kind of a cool thing to have, and part of me is kind of thankful that it's a thing, because since I've lost certain other abilities, I've gained others, and try to find the good and the bad. Is he done doing what he needs to do? Where'd you go?
I'm looking for the book on color.
He's looking for the color book. Okay. Well, are there any cute chicks that want to come on the screen?
But you were telling them your favorite song, which you never did.
My favorite song? I have many favorite songs. Like I can
But not be impressed by
I mean, I can become totally immersed in like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack. It's like, especially Interstellar, like nothing makes me feel more alive than listening to that soundtrack. It's unreal. And I
I'm
hate to,
ashamed to admit this.
I'm
but I'm a
ashamed to
big
admit
Blue
this
Oyster Cult
too.
fan.
I like Grimes. I don't like what she stands for,
Oh,
but
the
some of
music
her
is
music
edgy.
is cool. I love Muse. I like Lacuna Coil. I like Keen. I like a lot of British stuff. I like a lot of New Zealand type music, stuff that most people don't try to seek out. You know, little chicken, are you on? Look at you, how cute you are. Look at you and your little panda little face.
That being said, I still don't think you can beat Pink Floyd for like evocative music, especially if it's enhanced.
Can I tell my Pink Floyd story?
Tell your Pink Floyd story. Then we
All
gotta
right.
go.
Okay. When I was a freshman in college, I met a guy. I was dating a guy. And in Pittsburgh, we have this thing called the Carnegie Science Center. And you could go there, and they had exhibits, showed you how the body worked, like chemistry stuff. It was cool. And they would
Not her
have
baby.
they they would have these shows, these laser shows in the planetarium. And we decided, hey, let's go, like Pink Floyd, that's cool, it's a laser show. We were the only ones there that were not on drugs. So I had to sit through this stupid laser show. Like, this is the stupidest thing I have ever done in my entire life. So dumb. And I just never understood why that was a thing until I got really, really sick and had to start using cannabis. Now I understand Pink Floyd. Now I understand why Pink Floyd laser shows are cool.
Well, you know what? Actually, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because music from the mid to late '60s, really late '60s to the '70s, it's the bridge, right? They have those long bridges that make no sense unless you have psychedelic substances or you're on cannabis or points, east of there, let's say.
It's like now I
You
understand
you
why
understand
there's just
why
like a
they
7 minute
do that
gap
because
in the song.
you're like don't go away. You're like right in that spot, Because I mean, cannabis. Just for the record, cannabis is illegal in the state of Maine for both medical and recreational use.
Oh
So
my gosh, I
most
would.
people have done it, and like most people who were involved in politics, I've tried these things. I mean, certainly not addicted to it, but it's just like one of those things where
No,
they're
that's
experiencing.
one thing.
I don't think it's an addictive
Because
drug.
Lyme isn't covered by insurance, everything that I have to do to treat is going to be off the reservation, like cannabis and microdosing, other certain things. Just I have no faith in the
To ban
medical
traffic.
system. I have no interest in being on any sort of like psychotropic or seizure medication. I'm just gonna manage shit with what God put on this earth to grow for us to use as medicine.
Yeah, and honestly, to be honest with you, if I had to pick, I would say from experience. I mean, I'm not endorsing anything by saying this, but I'm saying that I think in general, cannabis is less bad than alcohol. Certainly on a
Absolutely.
day-to-day usage.
No
I mean,
one's ever
long term,
died
talk about
from smoking too much weed.
there's this. If you find that funny, first off, you'd probably find Trailer Park Boys funny. If you want to know a little bit what like life is like in rural Maine, even though that's Nova Scotia, it's not that different. And the other thing that is funny is they have a Canadian SNL like mock-up called 22 Minutes that has a lot of dumb skits, but some of the funny ones they have involve these weed people
The
who
stoner
just the stoner
Canadians.
Canadians. Yeah, I mean,
If you need a laugh, they are a hoot.
well, you know what? I'm not that. Of course, I would never. All right, caveats and warnings. You should never, ever, 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 ever use psilocybin in any form because it is a Category
Yes.
1 drug that you would get in a lot of trouble for growing. But if you did use it, what you would know is that in fact microdosing psilocybin actually has an amazing impact where what it does is it basically flashes out the neurons in your brain and makes your brain make new connections that it hasn't done before. So if you're someone who suffers from like Dana was at her time,
like my Lyme.
aphasia, it might have been a good idea if she would have ever theoretically tried using that, even though the medical system said don't do that because you're going to use
Well,
pharmaceutical drugs.
I never even asked the medical system for permission.
Okay,
I
okay.
just did
No,
it.
no, no, no. You didn't do anything.
But no, I did nothing. Well,
You did not. You did nothing. Let me tell the story the right way for your safety. This is for your protection. Let me tell the story exactly how I'm going to tell it in a way where I say exactly the many things you did not do, would never do, and would never because They would be things that would get you in trouble. Okay, so what she did not do was go outside the medical system, seek a different way to do things, and seek to re-engineer her neurons because they don't understand the first thing about microglia, the brain's immune system. And
The
so
brain's immune
when
system
it
or
happened that,
demyelinating
like people who were
diseases.
dealing with strokes, one of the things that one has discovered in other countries, but that we would never do in the United States of America because we would never run afoul of things, what we would do is you would never use psilocybin to basically shock your brain into making new connections so that parts of your brains that got disconnected that had shorts, you're
Yeah.
fusing new things. But there is a trade-off that you might learn if you ever did the thing you shouldn't do, which is it does change your personality a little bit, and it does cause a certain degree of open-mindedness because parts of your brain that didn't connect are starting to. And what you find is your brain has a surprising amount of elasticity under the right chemical conditions to begin realizing and perceiving different things. You start to realize, Corey says mushrooms are the past and will be the future. You start to realize Mario Brothers was about a totally different thing than you thought those Japanese programmers were talking about if
Yeah.
you've suddenly gone around and you know what fire flowers and
It's
psilocybin.
basically it's duct tape for your nervous system, is what it is.
Now, to be very clear, if you were to dose these at higher doses, what would happen is you do open doorways. And I want to caution people who should never take this thing from someone who's never done this before that you don't want to be opening doors to things where things can come in because just because you're used to thinking of emptiness in the night, that's not the way it really
Yeah,
works.
and if you're gonna do it for medicinal benefits, be smart about it. Do your research. Have a trusted, reliable source, or grow your own if you have to. But hands down, I would definitely recommend microdosing psilocybin over chemical psychotropics.
If you are
Any day of the
having
week.
neurological problems, I think there is a value to it.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, people do it for reasons that are not physiological.
Yeah, but if you have like a demyelinating disorder, like in that autoimmune
I would say,
family,
yeah. I mean, if you're doing it
that
for
like
other reasons,
strips your nerve cells down. I mean, like, ugh,
you can
yeah.
pull the world out from under your eyes. Just make sure you're ready and
Yeah,
if you're going
just
to
be
do it. It's not,
responsible. Don't
and
abuse
I
it.
would say from a spiritual perspective, I have to caution against this. I think because I think a lot of people who go in there, I mean,
I mean,
we
don't
don't have
go
to
in
go
there
into.
looking for.
We had
Yeah.
been through our time in the occult aware of things in the astral that meant it was not an unfamiliar place. But the danger is people not recognizing the internal world that we find at some point. It's like one of those hyperloops. Have you ever seen one? What are they called? The math equation ones we like.
The Mandelbrot?
The Mandelbrot's, like where the thing loops in on itself like a hyperloop and it comes outwards where the inside becomes the outside. It's kind of like that sometimes if you go to certain places beyond and you start to realize what you can reach on the inside is a lot deeper because you see things beyond the world, you know. So just be aware these are these things that yeah.
Yeah, there are critters in the darkness. Yep. This guy wish you'd do music. Oh, okay.
The only high that opens mind and see future and focus in life is sensory deprivation as to have a salt bath floating in a large tank with no light. I love the fringe tier. It works.
Actually, you know what? When I'm having neurological overload, sensory overload, which quite frequently leads to me having a seizure, that is when an environment like that would be ideal for me. Full immersion, block out all sound, all light, all noise, and just nothingness, and just let my brain reset. I would love to have something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do. Like when I start tweaking out neurologically, if I don't get
Siaki.
the stimulus under control, I'll take a seizure. So it's in my interest.
And
to,
so
yeah.
we've gone now about 2 hours. So I gotta go to the mail, get the mail. I gotta go to the dump, do some things to get ready here. You know what? This guy, if you wanted to, well, I guess you couldn't do it on YouTube because they would give you copyright strikes. But if you could do it, if you ever want to, you're certainly welcome to borrow my channel. Just you know how to get in touch with me. So if you want to do that, you can do Pinelander jams or whatever. I don't care. You know, if there's stuff you can do that would not get you in trouble with Or we could just not save the stream if you need access to some other way. So, I'm willing to take certain chances. And honestly, Eki does have top taste in music and in timepieces. So there's no question of that. All right, for the rest of you guys, God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for your support as always. For everyone who's been here with the program, go buy the book. And if you've bought the book, by the way, and I know a number of you have, go leave a review. And go leave a good one because that actually really does help people look for that. Even if I have 4 or 5, it would really make a big
It does
difference.
help the algorithm.
It helps him. It makes a huge difference. So, yeah, we're absolutely willing to do that. And if you ever want to be on the show in the old hot seat, if you ever end up in northern Maine, you'll find we're pretty congenial guests, and we always have a good time with it. So, we'll look until we see you guys next time. Probably see you at least. I'll come on and say a prayer, if nothing else, tomorrow. And I suspect, knowing my friend, that we will probably do a show together. And he's an interesting cat for sure. So if he does it, you may learn some things you've never heard before that are pretty amazing and pretty awesome, and pretty frightening, but pretty true. Which will be a lot of fun. And beyond that, we'll keep an eye on the news. Just go prep, get ready for what's coming, and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Certainly an opportunity to get a little bit of recovery. And I've said this is the last normal summer, the Indian summer. So go do it. And even if you do something kitschy, and even go to like a community barbecue or something, do that. All right. God bless all of you. Good to see you, Shalom Girl. Thank you for being here, Rooster, this guy, Corey, Free Green, everyone else who's here. Really appreciate that you guys spent some time with us today, both in the early and the
Shalom
late.
Girl, there's a video of yours I have in my list. I got to go back and watch.
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna
I
try.
have
to
a couple
accomplish-
things of yours I'm trying to get caught
But
up
now
on.
we have to go wrangle up in all our birds. So God bless all of you. Thank you for being here. Pinelander out.
Bye, guys.